Welcome to the City Manager's Report. The City Manager's Report is your preview of the next Oshkosh Common Council meeting agenda and an update from your Oshkosh City Manager. Your hosts, Emily Makowski of Oshkosh Community Media and City Manager Mark Roloff.
Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us on your City Manager's Report, your source for all of the most current things happening in Oshkosh, as well as a preview of the upcoming City Council meeting agenda. I'm your host, Emily Makowski, joined as always by your City Manager, Mark Roloff. So, Mark, as always, thanks for joining us.
Great to be here, Emily.
First show of 2016 that you're here for. We had Assistant City Manager Fitzpatrick sitting in for you last time, so welcome to 2016 as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Happy
it's
New
about
Year.
time for me.
So we're going to go ahead, dive into our hot topics for the first half of the show today, take a little break, and then we'll return with a review of the City Council meeting agenda for Tuesday, January 26th, 2016. So, Mark, first thing that we want to talk about today is a little bit of an update. We had last taped the CMR Top 10 episode and mentioned the Buck Staff building. So maybe you can give us a little bit of an update about anything that might have taken place since then.
Well, not a whole lot, but you know, if you haven't caught the Top 10 show, it was one of the early ones. Didn't get to the top of the list, but we are making progress with the Buck Staff issue. The council approved the agreement back in December, I believe. But we are currently working on a grant to help clean up the site with the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation. And we have submitted the draft to the WEDC for them to give us some comments before we make a formal submission. Our goal is to have that in by the end of January. So usually we can expect maybe a 6-week turnaround for something like that. So I'm hoping that mid-March that we'll have an announcement, and then we'll be able to get all the contracts in place. But we've signed the agreement with all the parties to the Buck Staff lawsuit, so that part's done. It's really just getting the other issues in place. But we do need to get this building down. It's been up there, and it's progressively getting worse. You can just tell by the condition of the windows there that we do need to get it torn down. It is a public safety hazard, and we don't want to waste any more time. But you know, part of the reason that we're doing this is to get it cleaned up so that the public, especially in the immediate area, knows that they won't have a safety concern anymore.
Right. And a big question on everybody's mind is, when is this building going down? When can we averagely expect the demolition to happen?
Well, once that 6-week period, once the grant gets approved, then we can begin working with the contractor to start knocking it down. I suspect it's going to be early spring still that it'll get knocked down. Will everything get removed, the rubble and that? That's going to depend. The contractor, in order to get the price as low as we could, we gave the contractor the salvage rights to the items there. So he asked for time to be able to sell it off. If he can get a good price early, it'll get out of there a lot quicker. Under any circumstance, they're required to have the site cleared by the end of September. So regardless of what scenario goes, we'll have it out by the end of September. Okay.
And it's a pretty big area of land, and a lot of people are asking as well, what's going to be happening with that spot? Is there any plans in the works, or is there any chance that people might have to give out ideas and things like that?
Always looking for ideas, and there's no specific plans, but we are going through that central city investment strategy, so we're seeking out input. So the planning department will be letting the public know about different sessions we're going to have to get input from everybody. You'll see workshops with council, and people can email us at any time with any ideas they have. I've had a couple ideas. I don't necessarily know if they're the right ones, and I'm not so married to them that we absolutely have to do it. I kicked around an idea of some type of recreational use, and that's a possibility, but I'm open to any and all ideas, and I know the council would like to have as many ideas as possible. But I think through the process of looking at the central city investment strategy, where would the public like to see, and how does it fit in with everything else? This is a shade under 8 acres. So 8 acres is not a lot, but for an area that's going to be torn down the first time in 100 years,
it's
you're going to be able to see it.
It's going to feel like a lot of space.
It's going to be very roomy there. And so I think we need to make sure that whatever we do, we have a plan for it. So we don't have immediate plans, but the whole idea behind the Central City Investment Strategy is to look at options. And I have several different visions for what I'd like to see, but that's just me. I'm just one person. And I'm anxious to get more input so that when we bring this to council, we have input of everybody in the community on this.
Yes, and so if you're interested in giving any of your input, you can attend the Central City Investment Strategy meetings as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, and community development, the department that's responsible for it, they'll be publicizing when they're going to be having input sessions.
Wonderful. Well, exciting stuff. It's always great to hear things about Buck staff that are going in the right direction. So thanks for that update, Mark.
All right.
Next thing we want to talk about is it's already almost election season here, and we need some poll workers. And I can't believe that the primary election is almost just under a month away already.
Right, and we are getting ready not just for the February 16th Supreme Court primaries. That's the only thing on the election for February 16th. Still important to vote, but we have 3 other elections on top of that, and what we're looking for are poll workers for the meat of the election season when we're really going to be busy. And obviously, presidential elections get the most attention. It's a presidential election year, but we're going to have presidential primaries and congressional primaries and things like that. So we're going to have a lot of poll workers needed. And
it's a great job too. I mean, it's a fairly easy job. You're kind of just there to help out voters and, you know, maybe take the poll book and that kind of thing. And, you know, it's also a great way to meet people as well, kind of get out there and get into the community a little bit.
It is, and it's also, and I think people really do have a lot of satisfaction that they get knowing that they're helping the democratic process. So, and a little extra money, like you said, thrown in there, it doesn't hurt. And it really is necessary, because when you ask about why are election results coming in so late, it's the poll workers that are the troops behind.
They're bearing the brunt.
They are working long hours, and you know, we can work with you on hours and things like that as well. But you can see that even this video being shown started early in the morning and it goes to late at night. So we do need workers, and we'll work with you to get to the right hours for you, but it's a great way to get involved.
Yes, and so if you're interested, you can contact the clerk's office for the city at 236-5011, and they can get you started, training, all that kind of stuff. Again, 236-5011 for that. Another thing that we want to give a little plug for today, Mark, is a really cool exhibit that's coming up at the Oshkosh Public Museum, and I feel like they're on fire right now. They have all kinds of great exhibits back to back. Upcoming exhibit is called Be the Dinosaur, opening February 1st.
Yeah, this is a much more interactive exhibit than we've ever had before. There have been hands-on ones, but this is gives people an opportunity, and not just people, not just kids, but visitors. You simulate being a dinosaur.
It's like a virtual reality game. And
how do you survive in the world? And so you learn about how dinosaurs survived by essentially being a dinosaur in a simulation. There's physical areas of the exhibit to learn about different dinosaurs, survival methods, so that when you do play the game, you can know what tendencies different dinosaurs had.
And that's an important aspect that Carla from the museum was telling me about. She said you can't just dive right into the virtual reality part, because you do need to kind of prep yourself a little bit and get to know, make sure you're not eating the wrong thing if you're a certain kind of dinosaur. And I think there's even some smell aspects to it and things like that. You know, if a certain dinosaur depends more on their eyesight or their smell or their feeling and things like that. So it sounds like it's a really, really neat exhibit. They've also got throughout the museum, they have a scavenger hunt trying to find different dinosaur figurines, and of course they do have a cute little craft that you can create your own little dinosaur and take it home with you.
And contrary to popular belief, the jungle scenes you see here are not on the back side of the museum. This is all computer simulation. You can live and feel like you're there, but no, this is not Oshkosh.
There's no Jurassic World in the back of the museum.
Just a virtual world that you can have fun with and learn at the same time. So Be the Dinosaur is the name of the exhibit. It starts February 1st.
Goes through May 16th. While you're at Be the Dinosaur, make sure you check out the Wetlands and Waterways, because this will be the last season that it will be around as one of the museum's permanent exhibits. They're going to begin dismantling that fairly soon, within the next few months, to make room for for the new permanent exhibit, which is called People of the Water. So that's a pretty big deal going on at the museum right now too.
Yeah, and that's something that people have seen through the years, and if you have any nostalgia for the wetlands and waterways, go by there and say so long to the DNR agent who's in there, and the fishing agent, and the Native Americans, and the other displays that we have there, because it'll be replaced with something of a more historical nature about the people of our area from the past. So really a neat new exhibit, but the old one still has a lot of value, a lot of, like I said, nostalgia. So go visit the museum and check it out, and do it, and then go see Be the Dinosaur at the same time.
Yes, a lot of great things to look forward to at the museum right now. Another really cool thing to look forward to that is a huge event in Oshkosh is the Otter Street Fishery. Mark, that's coming up on February 5th is Friday, the kickoff bash, and then Saturday the 6th is the fishery itself out at Menominee Park. And this is a huge thing to look forward to.
It's a great draw, and it is not just for people who fish. I mean, the fishery is about the fishing tournament, but Friday night you've got band Star 69 that's there, Brandon's Bash. You've got a fish fry and things like that. There's a lot of fun stuff. If you like being outdoors, and the weather's been, you know, a little cold recently, which everybody's getting a little worried about. Don't worry. The weather, these guys have been doing this for years. They know what they're doing. You can have a lot of fun. Even if the lake isn't what it's supposed to be, we'll take care of things on land. The Otter Street Fishing Club does so much for our community, and they add to the quality of life. They do things for the parks. They do things for the boat launches, and they're a great organization in this community. It's really, to me, it's a source of pride for our community.
Just a good time.
They just have a great time doing things, and the tents go on, and they'll be on land or they'll be on the lake.
And they've got races and things that they do as well, in addition to the fishery. And
you'll be getting a raffle ticket from somebody somehow.
You will.
So February 5th and 6th over at Menominee Park. It's a great event, and I encourage people to check it out, even if you don't fish.
Yes. So we'll see you out there, Mark, hopefully.
You never know.
All right, so it's that time of the show now where viewers have the chance to ask their city manager anything they want about things that are happening right here in their city of Oshkosh. Let's go ahead and see what the question mark question is this week. So the question this week is, how is our water protected from something happening like in Flint, Michigan right now?
Boy, that's a scary question.
It is a scary question.
But boy, I appreciate the question getting raised. I had that discussion with Steve Brand, our utility manager, the other day, because I was trying to get him to help me understand, because I've been watching it just like everybody else on the news, but I'm trying to process it, you know, what went wrong and everything. But they changed their water source, and the story you're hearing now is they used to buy it from Lake Huron, or from the city of Detroit from Lake Huron, which makes perfect sense because you got a freshwater lake there. And as a result of what they were doing to go through their financial troubles, somebody made a decision to purchase the water from the Flint River. Not sure why, just because it's closer. There must have been some thought that maybe it was better. But Steve Brand told me, and we monitor this all the time, the pH of the water, the corrosive nature of the water. You look at that for a variety of reasons, but primarily you don't want it messing with your pipes. You don't want it to corrode your pipes. And the water that was coming out of the Flint River is drastically different than what comes out of Lake Huron. So what happens is even though it leaves the treatment plant clean and would pass any test, the difference in the pH was never accounted for, and so it started to corrode the pipes in Flint that were used to a certain level of pH. And the old homes in Flint, the services that go from the mains into the houses, they're made of lead. Now that seems dangerous, but if you have the proper pH, you don't have anything to worry about.
You won't be ingesting any lead.
But the minute the lead hit that water with a more acidic pH, it started to deteriorate the pipes. And now, and I'm not the scientist, but from what I'm reading, it can't be undone. You can't unring this bell. the first indicator were the residents noticing that the iron pipes, and we have iron pipes too, but we keep track of our pH. And as the pH started to corrode the iron pipes, you started to see rusty and brownish.
Brown water, yeah.
That's not the dangerous part, but that was the first indicator. And then apparently there was a doctor in Flint who noticed just almost randomly that lead levels were going up. The fact that they caught this is almost miraculous because somebody wasn't watching. But to let you know, we monitor the pH, we monitor the corrosivity of our water, not just at the treatment plant, because the treatment plant's going to be fine, but when it gets out in the system, does anything weird happen to it? Because things can change as it goes through the pipes. We check it at the end of the line. We ask people, can we go in and take a sample from your house? We're not looking to check things out. We just want to know that the water at your end is as good as the water that we put out at the front end. So it's a fascinating topic, a scary topic, but we do monitor the pH. So something like this would not happen because we monitor it consistently and around the clock and throughout the year. So
that, and we get our water from Lake Winnebago, which I don't think is going to be changing anytime soon.
Right. We have never shifted our source of water, so we wouldn't have a drastic change that Flint didn't account for. Right. We didn't make that change.
And even with that, we're monitoring it.
We're monitoring it even regardless, because you just never know. Something could get into the water that we don't know, so we got to test it in the plant before it goes out, and we got to test it at both ends. So it's a fascinating topic, and thank you for bringing up that question. That was a heck of a question.
It's a great question. So if you've got a great question, feel free to send it to Mark. Email it to questionmark@ci.oshkosh.wi.us, and he'll answer it on the next episode of City Manager's Report. We're going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, we will go over the City Council meeting agenda for this Tuesday, January 26th. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Jim Collins, Transportation Director for the City of Oshkosh with an important message for motorists and bicyclists. Recently, the city has begun painting bike Sharrow symbols on roadways. The term Sharrow is short form for shared lane bicycle marking. Sharrows are made up of bicycle and chevron symbols, and they are located about 4 feet away from the curb where parking is not allowed and about 11 feet where it is. Streets with Sharrows do not have a designated bike lane, but still indicate that the roadway segment is a bike route and is expected to be used by bicyclists. Sharrow markings are used to show motorists where cyclists will be traveling within the lane, while also showing cyclists proper lane positioning, especially where lanes are too narrow to be safely shared. It's important to note that with or without marked Sharrows, bicyclists are encouraged to travel on streets and follow traffic laws just as any other vehicle on the road. Motorists are urged to continue to be aware of bicyclists and to share the road. Thank you for keeping Oshkosh safe, and happy riding.
Welcome back to City Manager's Report. Thanks again for joining us. Now it's that time of the show where we're going to go ahead and go through the upcoming City Council meeting agenda for Tuesday, January 26, 2016. So, Mark, first item that we wanted to highlight is Resolution 16-26, approve conditional use permit and plan development for establish of a brewery and tasting room at 1009 South Main Street. And my ears kind of perked up when I heard brewery and tasting room. So tell us a little bit of background on this one.
Well, folks may have heard about this from a prior episode or some plan commission meetings. This was it is a brewery and tasting room, so a mini brew pub type of place.
Sure.
But it was going to be on Oregon Street, and for whatever reason, that land deal didn't work out. But these folks are very interested in, they see the market for this type of brewery and tasting room, so they found a location at 1009 South Main. It's basically at the southwest corner of South Main and 10th 10th Avenue. So that's where people will see the location of this. And the conditional use permit is required for this type of use, but it's on a main drag. It's accessible. There's parking there. So it sounds like it should be an interesting little addition to the south side.
Yes, and they're kind of revamping the building too. It used to be a food service building, but it's going to be given a new use now. So it's very interesting.
Sounds like they're putting a whole new face on it. It's going to look a lot different. So it could be very interesting. And you know, as we're looking at the downtown Central City investment strategy, what do you want to do on both sides of the river in downtown? I think this will be a great addition to draw people to downtown.
Yes, so we're looking forward to seeing where that goes. Next item we want to go over is item number 10 and 11 is Resolution 16-31, which is approving the purchase of traffic control equipment for North Main Street reconstruction, and that's for $90,000. Tell us a little bit about that.
This is the reconstruction of Main Street from New York Avenue all the way up to Murdoch. And there's a 5-point intersection there where Harrison Street comes in, and that's a specialized signal. We are doing this project through the State Department of Transportation, and they're not going to have this awarded in a bid until April. So the way the state works, they will not order one of these signals until the bid's awarded.
Okay.
So if we had, and there's a 6-month lead time to get this type of equipment, if we wait until April, we won't get the signal until October, maybe even November, and that would put the project way behind. We would have to keep Harrison Street closed the entire time until November, and that's just unacceptable because Harrison Street is a truck route. It would just disrupt so many different neighborhoods. So what we're doing is we're shifting some monies around. It's not going to cost us any more. It's just how we're using our grant funds, and we're going to purchase this right now, order it, and the 6-month lead time will start around February 1st, so it'll be ready by around August 1st.
That'll kind of line up with
It'll
the rest
line
of
up
the
perfectly getting the project done, and that's our job, is to take a look at these types of things and how do we keep a project on pace, how do we prevent unnecessary delays that impact traffic, impact delivery for businesses, all those types of things. And it's very important that we do that. So that's why we're asking the council to award this right now, and then we can keep moving on.
And that's what Resolution 1632 is amending the 2016 Capital Improvement Program. That's just the shuffling of monies around to be able to do that.
That's all it is. So it's all part of the traffic signal equipment.
Wonderful. Well, it's great to know that you're looking ahead and anticipating that to prevent some little issues from happening later on. So.
Our public works folks, that's what they do all the time. I appreciate everything they do to keep projects moving forward.
Wonderful. Next item we want to do is the Resolution 16-35 under the consent agenda. That's approved charges for extraordinary services for special events in 2016. This is kind of an annual item that you do every year, correct?
Yes, it is. We update our charges that we're going to give to different organizations that put on special events, whether it's ambulance services with Country USA, or for police services with one of the festivals, Waterfest. All those things cost money, and we need to recoup those charges, which is why we did the special event ordinance in the first place. So annually we redo our fees, and this is our annual change to do this, and we make sure we're covering all the costs associated with administering our special events, and so that's how we take care of it. And council looks forward to seeing this, make sure the costs don't increase, and say in some cases the costs are actually on a rate are going down a little bit, but they're going up in some areas. We're trying to capture and recover administrative costs as well associated with these events.
Wonderful. So annual event, something that we do every year. Item number 23 under council discussion is a future agenda item. That is for a joint meeting with the Oshkosh Area School District on January 27th at 5 p.m. Is there anything specific that we're talking about, or is this more of a habitual meeting that we're doing as well?
The council and the school board asked for some regular meetings. It will have been almost a whole year since we did the last one, but you know, a lot of times we're just so busy, but we had a wonderful meeting the last time. Both the council members, school board members, and senior staff from both agencies sat around the table for the first time in about 5 years. So now we're doing it annually, a little more frequently. We did ask each other to put items on the agenda so we knew we have something to talk about, but it's really to keep on top of things that we mutually are involved with. Housing and the impact that housing has on schools, the land use issues that have to do with schools, crossing guards. The issue of diversity has become very much in the eyesight of both the school board and the council. So talking about all those types of issues in ways that we can work together. The last time I think we celebrated a lot of things we already do. We don't need to talk about the things we did in the past. We need to talk about the things we want to accomplish in the future. And that's what we're going to do. And it's the day after the council meeting, so it's sort of the last chance to get some items on the agenda so that when we meet with the school board, it's a very productive meeting.
Wonderful. So again, that's January 27th at 5 p.m. You can watch it live on City Cable 10 or catch it online as well. Final item that we want to talk about here, Mark, is the very last item on the agenda is item number 26, parking study with Walker Parking Consultants in room 404. What exactly is that about?
As part of the Central City Investment Strategy, we knew that as we develop plans for the future, we know it'll have an impact on parking. And parking was one of the things that was overlooked when we did the Downtown Action Plan back in 2001. We're inviting the parking utility, members of the BID, Chamber, Go EDC, all those groups to listen to the results of the study that Walker Parking Consultants did on our behalf. They did a lot of research in terms of meeting with people, surveying, and then they also went out and did physical counts. I think there was some belief at the beginning that we needed a new parking structure. The study itself does not specifically recommend that, but they do talk about parking management issues. Some that are problems that we own and we have to solve, specifically signage and how it can be confusing for people. And you got to put yourselves in the shoes of drivers, and that's something we own and we got to work on. The other part of it is how we can work with our businesses and other folks who have parking, and can we manage that better, manage the demand, because demand peaks and demand goes down. How do we manage the peak demands so that we aren't having people drive all over town looking for a parking spot? And how do we get businesses to get their employees to recognize the value of maybe not parking so close to their business, leaving those areas open for the customers who are the lifeblood of any business, and we're one of those businesses, the library. We want to make sure that we're being good managers of parking as well. So that's the whole idea. The council wanted to give a workshop and dedicate it and give a good hour and a half or so. So that's why we're doing it at the end of the agenda. And we have a fairly light agenda, so we can get to this fairly soon and devote the time that we really need to take a look at parking in the downtown.
And who's going to all be at this workshop that is going to be able to kind of voice their opinions?
Well, it's not a public hearing, but we are announcing this or noticing it as a joint meeting of the council and the parking utility and the business improvement district, because we feel that everybody has a stake in this and we want their input so that we can find solutions that work for everybody. So right after the meeting on Tuesday, we'll just take a brief recess, go into 404 and sit around the table and talk about these issues that the consultant has put together for us.
And if you're interested in seeing the report, that is on the city website right under the hot topics on the home page. You can see it right there. It'll open up a PDF and you can have it all right there for your reading pleasure. So that's going to do it for this episode of City Manager's Report. Mark, as always, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
It's always a pleasure.
Again, the City Council meeting is this Tuesday, January 26th at 6 p.m. You can watch it live on City Cable 10 or online and on the TuneIn Radio app for mobile devices. Make sure you like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter for all of your community and government programming and updates, or check out our YouTube channel for government meeting replays and past episodes of your favorite programs. Don't forget, if you have a question for City Manager Mark Roloff, send it to questionmark@ci.oshkosh.wi.us, and he'll answer it on the next episode of City Manager's Report. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next time.